but we also quite often don't have that background in financial education as confidently as men may have.
Hello and welcome to our Spotlight series. I'm your host, Carla Egan, and today we're talking to a financial educator and a money mindset coach who is really passionate about supporting women to create a positive relationship with money and with themselves. She has successfully supported hundreds of clients to create abundance, regardless of their income, and to help them find enjoyment in harnessing the energy of money as it flows in and out. Welcome to our guest today, Jess Burchell from Tillow Coaching and Consulting, and Jess joins us from Grovedale in Victoria, Australia. Welcome.
Thanks, Carla. Thanks so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. And Jess, we're here today to talk about the importance of how you approach money. So firstly, I want to ask you, what was the catalyst for you working with women as a money mindset coach?
Oh, that's a really good question. It really came from a few years of, pre-coaching per se, where noticing the cycle of poverty and how that impacts generationally. And I'm a big believer in if we can impact as many people as possible through word of mouth or through education, that we can actually really change the way generations can view things, but also as society, we can actually lift everybody up if we actually provide the education in the spaces that are going to be most beneficial. And it is actually my belief that statistically that women tend to share their knowledge and raise people with them more so than men. Not that men can't, it's just that that's, statistically women tend to be more open at sharing their knowledge and actually taking people along for the ride with them. So that's sort of why I focused on that sort of space there. But I'm super passionate about, empowering mums and women and things like that we can actually impact all the generations that are coming and following us to be able to be, positive around money, but also using it for the greater good rather than it being, the ball and chain that sometimes we feel it is.
I love your focus on the education part, and just picking up on some of the words. You talked about generational poverty, and I think women are great educators and nurturers by nature, and by targeting them, you're educating their children to be more financially secure and more financially enjoy financial freedom as they get older, because managing money, having a good relationship with money is not really what we're taught about in school. So I love your belief system around that and where you're spending your energy in your business. It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's such an important space. And I mean, if we look back to 50 years ago, it wasn't a space that women necessarily, were the voice of. It was traditionally the men's business. And so I think we've got a massive generation coming through where it may not be a skill set that they have, and that it's not something that they can't learn or become empowered by. And I would love to see that ripple effect through our generation and then my children's generation and so forth, where that both male and female, no matter what gender or that we actually get to have that comfort knowing that we can prosper and have abundance no matter who we are.
Yeah, here for that. Yeah. So in terms of who you want to work with, I can hear your passion coming through, which is wonderful. So who are you most passionate about working with, Jess?
Well, yeah, as I said, women I am super passionate about because I believe that we are, and, not saying that men can't be, and I do work with men as well, but it's that whole space of we can actually impact so many more because women tend to share that knowledge. But I really am passionate about, if I was really to zone it in and rein in as much as possible, it is quite often mums that I work with. And it may be, whether they're single parents or co-parents, it doesn't really matter. It's that space around that mums have that ability to be able to share on that generational knowledge really easily because of that parenting role. So that I tend to focus in that space there, but I do also work quite a lot with those people that have in the past either been, sufferers of domestic abuse or that they have lived with disability. So I sort of have quite a couple of little branches that I do work in. But yeah, generally speaking, it's women and that re-empowering through that, positivity of having that money energy that is of abundance rather than scarcity.
So you work with NDIS clients, I'm assuming, just from your last comment?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I sort of have two sort of little branches. It sounds a bit weird, but as I said, Tillow being my business name, it is the new growth in trees. So I like to sort of often revert back to that tree space, and then I do have two significant branches that I do work with. So women or single mums or mums, that's the one side of my tree, and my other side of my tree is the NDIS space. As again, women tend to be those voices that can share the space, but we also quite often don't have that background in financial education as confidently as men may have. And then also I love working with those in the NDIS space because they are at much more risk of potential domestic abuse, being again financial abuse falling into that space.
Yeah.
So we really want to empower those people to actually have a voice and to have confidence to know that they can be as successful as those that don't live with disability. I don't believe in that we have a label that then actually reduces our ability to be amazing.
Yeah, I like that passion. And for people that are following our podcast and watching and listening to us, Jess, what's something that they could do? What's one tip that you could share that they could implement today to help improve their relationship with money and to change their mindset perhaps around money? What would that be?
Yeah. My one tip or my go-to tip for people that always say, what's a quick tip that you can give me? I always like to believe in paying yourself first. And this is not something that's just specifically me. A lot of people in the space of money mindset or wealth creation will always say it's so important to pay yourself first. It's a little bit like most of us will have an idea of superannuation is skimmed off our income before we actually get our wage check. So if you look at it in that same sort of space, and it could be that it's like $2 or $3 that you actually allocate into an account that then doesn't get touched by you for everyday costs or needs and wants, but it's actually then allowed to grow into more wealth, and it's either through investments or those sorts of things, which I don't technically work in, but it's that space of being able to grow your money, knowing that it's always there for you, that it's actually creating the energy of more, if that makes sense. So I always recommend, if you can even find a small amount, to always pay yourself first. If you can do it as a percentage, it's even better, because then as you increase your wage, the percentage naturally raises with it. So a larger amount will go up. But even those that live with disability that might be on a disability pension, we still put this into practice for those that work with me, and we literally take a percentage of their wage and actually create wealth on the side so that they know no matter what happens to them that they have money there. And it's amazing how that one little thing can shift the way we view our money. So it is that there is always actually money, because it's a bit like the ocean, like you can take a bucket of water from the ocean and the ocean still has those waves come in no matter what. I believe money has that same energy. It doesn't matter. Like, money is just out there. It's there for all of us. So if you take your bucket and make it work for you, put it in your little moat of your sandcastle or whatever it is you're using it for, it hasn't actually impacted the ocean at all. And money is exactly the same. You can take your part, still spend it in all those other spots, like with your food and all those sorts of important things that we spend our money on. But knowing that you've actually kept a little bit that's actually going to grow for you, that's a really important thing. So I always say, pay yourself first, even if it's a small amount, and just watch that grow, knowing that your money is actually going to be of abundance in the future. It doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen, kind of thing.
Great idea and tip. And, in fact, we learn this as kids, don't we? We have money boxes and we put money aside, pocket money, etc. And as adults, especially if you're not working, you might have a allowance. I think that's a really great tip, because it's the habit of being disciplined with your savings, but also it's building that better relationship with money. Fabulous. I love that tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, we're almost at the end of our podcast. So my last question to you, Jess, what does joining the coaching directory mean for you and your business?
Joining the coaching directory was almost a no-brainer for me. I just know that through being in this space with all these other amazing coaches, I am able to share my message with more people, to be able to access other coaches. So if it's not my space that someone comes to me and I can't help them, there's so many other people that I can share them with. I just do believe it's that whole space, similarly to the money space. We, as a village of coaches, can create a world where people can actually maximize their own personal potential. So being part of that village is really important to me.
And we loved having you being part of our village as well, Jess.
No, it's a great space to be part of.
Well, that brings us to the end of our Spotlight interview. And thank you, Jess, for shining the spotlight on money. And look, and for creating these wonderful opportunities for everyone to develop a better understanding of money.
Yeah, it's such an important space, as all the spaces are that we work with you, Carla. It's that whole positive energy and that knowing that we all have the opportunity to, that none of us are missing out on this option.
Yeah, great. Look, and for those that are listening, if you want to learn more about this episode, you can find Jess from Tillow Coaching and Consulting on the coaching directory. And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us and for following our Spotlight series. If you enjoy our show, please rate and review us and be sure to catch us on the next episode. This is Carla Egan from the Coaching Directory, where we connect you to your ideal coach.